What are we gonna do when we get back?
What are we gonna do when we get back?
I take a shower and hit the rack.
Take a shower and hit the rack.
Welcome to Charlie Mike. If you're a combat veteran with an entrepreneurial bug and want to know what highly successful combat veteranpreneurs are doing to transform their sacrifice and experience to create their visual reality, then this is dedicated to your inspiring and fulfilling future. And now your host, Dwayne Paro.
No way, gotta run, beat, lots of fun.
Invest in Yourself ebook is my free gift to you for listening to the show and becoming part of the CO Nation. To receive your free gift, please go to landmarklifecoaching.com. Thank you for joining us on this episode. There are so many veterans with the core strengths to become successful entrepreneurs and continue to make a huge positive impact on our country. Here we highlight the amazing successes of combat veteranpreneurs. Combat veterans, for the purpose of the show, are soldiers, sailors, Marines, and airmen who have served the United States in wars, campaigns, and in theater on foreign soil or hostile waters. Our guest today is Aaron Serrano. Aaron enlisted in the United States Marine Corps after attending college and graduated the top of his class in Infantry School, earning a meritorious promotion. After gaining valuable experience, he completed Officer Candidate School and was commissioned in the United States Marine Corps. Completed 2 combat deployments to Iraq as a lieutenant. He received his undergraduate degree from William Penn University and earned a Master's of Business Administration degree from Norwich University. All right, Aaron, welcome to the show, and thank you for being a guest.
No, absolutely. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, we've had a chance to talk from the past, and I thought you'd be definitely a great guest to come on and share your experience with what you're doing in the entrepreneurial realm, as well as if you can give us a little more history on your experience in the military, maybe why you went in or chose to go in, and some of what you did while you were in, and then we'll talk about your transition out.
Yeah, for sure. So I joined after college and enlisted. So I know sometimes that can be counterintuitive, but military service in my family, everybody had served, and I wanted to do something, and this goes, go figure. I'm the only one in my family that joined the Marine Corps, so they kind of gave me that raised eyebrow. But it's just something about the Marines that just stuck out to me, and I decided to enlist and be in the infantry. So I was an 0311, a little rifleman, and hearing that little list that you gave kind of brought memories back of going through SOI West and hating it, but then it just continues to get worse when you go to the field and when you go onto your follow unit, and then obviously deploying. So did that for a little bit, and then decided I wanted to be an officer or commissioned officer and lead some Marines in combat, and did that, and ended up deploying, like you said, a few times to Western Outland Bar, and was able to do some convoys and see the beautiful scenery there in Iraq.
Well, awesome. Yeah, well, thank you for your service and, some of the more unpleasant times. And, being an officer and being able to lead Marines is quite an honor. So, as you were, finishing up your tours and, coming back stateside, what was your transition like? Had you already planned that at a certain point you were going to get out, or what was that kind of time period like for you?
Yeah, it just kind of happened. I decided to get my MBA while I was in the Marine Corps, and I just wanted something more, and I kind of had this idea for the business. I started and just got to the point where I decided to drop some paperwork, and then I like everybody else, I'm sure, like, okay, now what? What's the game, and what's what do I stick to or follow? And I decided I went through a hiring firm and actually got a few offers from some corporations, and decided to go to John Deere.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was going to ask you, if you went straight into entrepreneurship or if you actually got another job and then transitioned from there. So you went to John Deere, and what was the position for there?
Yeah, so my first position, believe it or not, the guy who was my boss or hiring manager was actually my commissioned officer when I was a young Lance Corporal. So I didn't even know his first name. I said sir, and he said Lance Corporal Serrano, and we kind of went from there. But I was supervisor down on the floor for the combine. So I got a few departments and working and learning that. And then about a year into it, I got to transition into a buyer role. So basically, logistics was kind of my background, and I wanted to kind of do that a little bit. So I got to work with 40 some different suppliers and a couple $100 million budget to make sure we got the supplies we needed down to the floor so we can make the combines.
Yeah, so, as you were working there, did you have a bug to become an entrepreneur, or was it kind of a target of opportunity that came up and you decided, you know what, I'm going to try this out?
Right. I wanted to do it. Obviously, I have a family and kids, so first and foremost, I had to ensure they were, taken care of. But about a week after I left the Marine Corps, my identity was stolen. So this idea I had for my company kind of just, pushed it to the top priority. So while I was working, I actually was able to hire my first employee and kind of, do both at the same time, which was really stressful. But you want to make sure you have a viable product or service. And it just started getting to the point where like it's time for me to make the leap. And I left John Deere and haven't looked back.
Yeah, so that's a good point. As you're thinking through that, you're in a full-time job, which is a great way to be, a great position to be in, and a great way to get started as an entrepreneur, because it takes some of that risk away. Not that our standard jobs are guaranteed these days, but at least you've got an income coming in. Like you said, your family's taken care of, so you can focus more on the building of the business. And what was that thought process? Take us through that thought process. When you're making that decision, was there certain things you had already done, or things that you had lined up to be able to be comfortable at that point, even though comfortable is kind of a loose term?
Right. Yeah, it just I would work my regular job from like 7 to 3 or whatever it was, and then go over and kind of do that from 4 to 10 o'clock at night, and just a lot of stuff was needing to be done during the day where we needed both of us at that point. And I'd saved my money and just decided as once we started getting businesses signed up and veterans signed up, it was getting to that point where we had good metrics on, hey, once we hit this point, I can definitely leave. And it is a leap of faith. There is I like organized chaos. That's basically what it is. But it was there, and it was time to leave and make that leap of faith. So
yeah, that's good for our listeners to hear, because that's always that point where as an entrepreneur, if we have a day job, we get stuck. It's like, is it now kind of thing. And I think that's some key points, being able to have the money in the bank, so if what your gut's telling you doesn't play out the way you foresee it, you have some cushion there and time to maybe even get back into the regular job market if needed. And I think too, that's a great point on the metrics, right? You got at least beyond your gut feel, you've got some metrics that are telling you where everything appears to be going, and you can increase your level of confidence that you have something solid to base that on.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I mean, it's, I don't want to say it's catch-22, but if then it feels like a hobby. If you got that comfort knowing you're getting the salary job position, so you almost treat it like a hobby. And I'm not saying everybody does that, but when you take that leap of faith, it's, hey, now it's go time. Like, now you have to make it work. Like, there is no going back. So it kind of makes you strive even harder, so to say. Because at the end of the day, you got to take care of your company and your employees and your family.
Yeah, definitely. When that's a very good statement about that. You really do. Your mindset really does change when you don't have that fallback anymore, and now it's kind of game on. And while you knew it's your passion and you're into it and you're going to do everything you need to do, now it's really time to take it to that next level. So that's a great point, because I've been in a mastermind where there's individuals that are in a similar situation where they have a day job. They're like, things aren't bad in the day job, but they really want to take off with their business, and they're always in that conundrum of, when do I make the move? What do I need to do? How do I know it's the right time? And once they do make that move, they say that same thing, that things change. It's a whole new mindset as far as it's the pedals down. You got to go. You can't hesitate anymore. It's easier to set back when you've got some other form of cash flow. So, as you transitioned into this, did you go through any of the veteran type boot camps, or was that not something that you pursued?
You know what? I was, by the time I heard about that, believe it or not, I was already, up and running. So, it was probably one of those things where, man, I wish I had that, or, a lot, like what you do and others do, where you can kind of, coach them through and help them, because I wish I had that. So it kind of benefited me. I mean, you have your mentors, and I try to find veteran entrepreneurs and kind of ping their head a little bit and get that guidance, because you're going to fail every day at some small thing, and hopefully that doesn't accumulate to big things. But, if you can help another veteran entrepreneur to say, hey, don't make this mistake like I did, and then hopefully it just keeps that chain going on, just like when we're in the military, when, you entrust your NCOs and in my case, your Marines, and, hopefully they gain the value and the leadership, and then they pass it on to those, and it's just the cycle that continues, and that's what makes everything great.
Yeah, that's a great point. The mentorship is really critical, and it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't have to come through a formal program. I've talked to several entrepreneurs, veteran entrepreneurs that haven't been through literally any formal boot camps or training of the such, but what they did do is their network became extremely important outside of even their mentors, but even growing their network and becoming known in the space. And was that somewhat of a challenge as you got started? Was, okay, we know our product, we know what value we're going to add to the market. Now, how do we make everybody else aware of it? Was that an uphill climb for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely that hockey stick. I refer to that. I mean, my learning curve was significant, but I've just always had a lead by example attitude. So I would just beat the streets and talk to everybody I could, and if they weren't a business owner, I'm telling them what we have, because I mean nowadays, I'd like to think everybody knows a veteran or in some way or of another, and it was just getting that that feedback out. But once they started having a great experience, then it kind of took care of itself.
Yeah, definitely. What are some tools you use that were kind of critical in your networking as you got started?
Yeah, I mean, obviously on the business side, like the SBDC, the Small Business Development Centers, they have great guidance, and the local state level in our state, we have great mentors out there as well that you can talk to. But really, it was just finding when you talk to a business owner, they let hey, so and so was in the military, and you just talk to them, and they already have that perspective and everything, kind of help you out along the way. But even we talk to a lot of students at the universities who are veterans, and just get their perspective on what they're looking for as well and stuff. So for our product for our service to fit them as well.
Yeah, that's an interesting market too. I've done some coaching in the veterans that are student veterans communities for different organizations, universities and colleges, and I think to some extent it's kind of a forgotten part of the veteran community as far as being able to add value and feedback to what they're looking for and what products and services are important for them in the stage that they're at. Because for yourself, you had your degrees, things like that, so you didn't have that obstacle or that challenge ahead of you to complete before you could think about the entrepreneurial realm, where some are interested in going, say, and getting a bachelor's or a master's degree in business administration or whatever along those lines, and they have certain challenges in doing that. And so it's great to hear that you were aware of that part of the community, the veteran community, to get their input, because they kind of get lost in the fold because they're not in the mainstream workforce per se. Right.
No, I agree.
Yeah. So as you guys launched your your business, which is Military Cost Cutters, can you give us a little bit of background on what it's all about?
Yeah, so Military Cost Cutters connects military-friendly businesses with the military community, and we do that through our web and mobile platform. So basically, we have a centralized database that shows anybody from coast to coast who's military-friendly, participate in our program, with the thought of that these veterans and their family members will go, patronize that service or product and, save some money while they're doing it. So that it was just something that, I noticed that, unless you're really a customer of somebody already and you knew about it, you don't really know. And then for the veteran side of it, when I left the military, we have our DD-214s. I was like, there's just something wrong when on my, vehicle license plate that says veteran, that shows more of a veteran than I have on myself. Because at that time, I don't think they had veterans on the driver's license or the VA or whatnot. So we built our technology so now we can verify a veteran status either through the mobile app or through our website off their discharge papers, and then we can, equip them with a mobile ID that they use on the mobile app as their source of verification.
Yeah, that is a really neat technology to be able to do that. That way, vendors are more inclined to participate because they know that there's some type of validation in the process, and it doesn't become intensive on them to validate or feel like, potentially some people are trying to get over on, on an important benefit to veterans. So I'm sure that's really key with attracting, businesses to want to, take advantage of this as well.
Yep, absolutely, and it just helps them out because unbeknownst to a lot of them, they might not have a good grasp on the military community, and as like the DD-214 or whatnot. So when we're able to communicate with them and say, hey, we have this program, they feel that ease and comfort knowing it's going to be a smooth rollout. We're going to reach a great population, and that stolen valor is significantly reduced. Anybody can go buy a hat that says Iraq veteran or Vietnam veteran or Korean veteran or whatever, but this truly says they've been verified and they have that comfort, so yeah. They really enjoy it.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great add-on to the service. So, all right, listeners, we're going to go ahead and take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to get into talking with Aaron about what core strengths that he developed or enhanced while he was in the military that he feels has really been serving him well as an entrepreneur. So we'll be right back. Landmark Life Coaching's vision is to be the nation's premier coaching partner for inspiring and empowering those in transition. They partner with courageous groundbreakers and transitioning veterans to create fulfilling and empowering futures that they desire. They have partnered with various entrepreneurs and transitioning veterans to leverage their core strengths and implement the framework for the future they always dreamed of. Could you or anyone you know benefit from a success partner to bring clarity to your future or their future? If so, please check out landmarklifecoaching.com for more information and charliemikepodcast.com for the Charlie Mike Podcast, showcasing the successes of combat veteranpreneurs. Okay, we are back with Aaron Serrano, the founder of Military Cost Cutters. Before we went to break, he was giving us a great overview of his military history and as well as how he transitioned out of the military and then stepped into the entrepreneurial realm. He brought up some very good key points about those different aspects that are important for any veteran who's considering becoming an entrepreneur. So, just before we went to break, Aaron was telling us more in depth about what the Military Cost Cutters, service is and how veterans are validated so that businesses can be comfortable with who they're servicing with these discounts. So one thing I always like to get into is core strengths. We all develop core strengths or we enhance core strengths that may have existed prior to going in the military. But typically some of these core strengths were as a result of our experience in the military, and we all as veterans carry them with us for the rest of our lives. And so, Aaron, what are a couple core strengths you feel were either developed while you were in the military or enhanced as a result of being in the military that have been really instrumental in being able to be successful as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, man, I wish I could just give you two. I would definitely say, it was just a big motto of, leadership by example. And, the Marine Corps have, our leadership traits. And it's just something, we build into it, just like, integrity, was a huge thing. Unselfishness, knowledge. I mean, knowledge is something nobody can ever take away from you. but it's just leadership by, example, and then communication. I remember becoming a commissioned officer. They said, if you can effectively communicate, you can get a lot done. And I was like, we already communicate. I mean, when I was in my fire team as a young rifleman, like, we were the best around, but it really did hold true. And it even holds true today. Like, just a simple communication, or how to effectively communicate is key, in my business.
Yeah, those are some really good examples. Knowledge in particular stands out to me. We all need to be lifelong learners and realize that we don't know it all, and that we're going to have to surround ourselves with people in most cases that are smarter than us, and in particular areas that we aren't necessarily strong in. And so being able to do that and do that successfully is important. There's so many things that change, especially when we do marketing and networking via technology with social media and things like that. I mean, just the whole way search engine optimization works, it makes your head spin. And, if you're not really up to speed on that, you need to have somebody that is, so that your stuff is being found, it's being used, versus, just taking it on and doing the best you can do, because at the end of the day, somebody's not doing that and will be surpassing you. And, leadership, obviously, key to everything, right? I mean, you can't have an organization without solid leadership. Leadership, even, it doesn't matter if you're 3 people or 300 people, 3,000 people, you need leadership from day one. And so that is definitely a great strength that all military have, and need to ensure that, even if they're not an entrepreneur, even if they're just out there applying for a job, that they step up for those roles, because the leadership skills that you develop in the military are far and above those that I feel than you get on, from an average, individual that went to college or didn't go to college, that has worked their way up to a leadership or management role. So now that you guys have been, relatively successful with what you're doing, what are some future things you guys are looking to do with your business?
Right. So, I mean, obviously the biggest obstacle to us is obviously, becoming nationwide. I mean, it's great that people in all these states are signing up, for the ID, and, they want to be in the program. But unfortunately, in some states, we don't have businesses signed up yet. So obviously our main goal is, continue expanding as fast as possible, get as many businesses as possible, so, everybody has the same experience, anywhere they go. But we have that, and then we have a few, back in April, I think it was April, we launched, our verification system, which, increased our membership. And then we also launched recently our online subscription program, where business owners, one of their, most valued commodities is time. And I know that myself as a business owner. So they love the program, they love the price points, and they just wanted something, just to automatically go. So we kicked in our online subscription program, where you can just sign up on our website. It takes like 30 seconds, and that's been, extremely successful and reaching those businesses in other states. So we have a few more R&D we're working on right now to hopefully roll out next year. I can't get into the details on that, but right now we're having a great, product or service for everybody, and they're seeing value in it.
Great. Yeah, that sounds exciting. It's always, great to have those new advances that you're going to be rolling out, and keeps people coming back for more, and the existing ones interested in what you're providing. So that's always great to have those future milestones to be working towards and growing the business. So one thing I like to talk about as well is, are there any particular tools or resources that you guys have found to be very useful as a business owner that, maybe you didn't know when you were first getting started, and you kind of stumbled on it, or somebody referred you to it, and you're like, wow, this is just like one tool we use, and I don't know how we got along without it? Because I know people are always looking for ideas on different tools that are out there that they may not have been exposed to yet.
Right. I'm sure there's a lot. I sometimes get a lot of windshield time in, so, excuse me, podcasts, like we're doing now, I love to listen to those. And when we talk about knowledge, if you're going to be on the road for an hour, what are you going to do? You're either going to, take a lot of calls, and sometimes I have to do that, or sometimes I like to, disconnect and listen to these podcasts or learning books and just continue to, stay up with my knowledge on what's going on in my industry. CRM tools was a huge one. I mean, I kind of grew up straight on the Excel sheet, which nothing's wrong with that, but some of these new CRM tools for, maintaining customer, support and service and leads and, anything you can think of, marketing, like you were talking earlier. I mean, that has been just a huge time saver and help us really, streamline our operations.
Yeah, definitely. Those tools are great to get into. It's one of those things of finding like when's the right time to jump into those tools so that you really take advantage of the capabilities without buying into something that's kind of outside of where you've grown so far. So that's some great advice. So, Aaron, as we're running out of time here, this has been an amazing conversation. I wanted to be able to give our listeners more information on how to get in contact with you if they are interested.
Oh, for sure. So, if you go to our website, www.militarycostcutters.com, we have a contact us page that, my team will route to me if it's specifically, want to reach me, or, it's first name dot last name at militarycostcutters.com. And if you're a business owner or know a business who would like to connect with veterans, here's my shameless plug. You can go to our pricing tab on our website, and literally in 30 seconds, you can be on your way.
Great. Well, thank you again for being on the show, and most importantly, thank you for your service to our country.
No, absolutely. I appreciate it, and I've enjoyed it.
Remember, loyal listeners, we are the home of the free because of the brave.
Thank you for tuning in to Charlie Mike Podcast with Dwayne Paro. Our objective is to bring successful veteranpreneurs to help inspire and provide insight into what helped them become successful, with the hopes you can take away various strategies you can implement in your entrepreneurial journey. Visit us on iTunes, leave us a rating and review, and let us know what you thought of the show. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Hoorah!